Live on here. All right, let's go. All right, so thank y'all for coming out again. This class is sponsored by the Aboriginal Republic of North America. Let me see the online people. Um, all right, so ARNA is a body politic for so-called African Americans to reclaim our nationality. What that means is we form a body politic. So that means we form our own jurisdiction to operate distinct and separate government on this land and start to build institutions based on our proper indigenous status. A lot of people don't realize so-called African Americans are actually Aboriginal Americans. We're the first people on this landmass. So that means we always have the autonomous right to operate our own government, our own culture. We don't have to be under uh, foreign businesses. So today, it's kind of going to be a continuation of what we talked about last week, dealing with economics and securitization. So we talked about trust, right? A trust relationship. You have three parties: trustor, trustee, beneficiary. So in respect to the United States, you know the way it started was slaves, slave masters, overseers on the plantation, right? So that's kind of a trust. The way a government is supposed to work is you have the people, citizens and nationals. The trustee is the government, right? The people elected in the office. And they're supposed to do the bidding of the citizens for the benefit of those same citizens. So the people are supposed to be trustor and beneficiary, right? So the way, trustor and beneficiary. Government is the trustee, right? Citizens tell them what to do, right? So um, the way it works now, when it comes to understanding what the U.S. is, it's a business. We think it's a government, but it's actually just another plantation that's run by these 21 multinational corporations who are actually bondholders. So the way it works, we think we elect our trustees, our representatives in the office. They're actually appointed by companies, right? So the details of it, when we deal with the executive branch of government, right? The president appoints people in his cabinet to the Department of Treasury, and then the Federal Reserve is the bank, right? The Federal Reserve prints the money. Federal Reserve is under the Department of Treasury. The president appoints the board of the Federal Reserve. The issue is these bondholders, the way it works, these people have basically taken over the government through the president, right? These people are in business with the government who print the money. The president signs off on it. And the Department of Treasury, the Secretary of Treasury, is the person who takes the bribe, right? The way this works is through securitization. You have to have what's called GOBs, or general obligation bonds, all right? Now, all right, so the act of these heads of government allowing companies to basically take over the country, that's treason, right? Treason is adhering aid to enemies of the people, providing comfort to enemies of the people, allowing how can I say it? That'll work, yeah. Giving aid to foreign entities who are enemies to their country, right? So that could be that's known as domestic violence. We think domestic violence is, beating up wife or something like that.
So it's a covert operation.
Right. It's a corporation.
I'm saying they operate covertly.
Oh yeah.
So people don't really understand.
Yeah, they don't tell you what's going on. That's fraud, all of that. So the president is in business with the people who control the money in the country. The treasurer is taking a bribe. The point is these are impeachable offenses. A lot of people don't understand that. There's a lot of conversation about impeaching Donald Trump, all of that. It's procedure to do it. And you can outline what he's actually doing with these companies. But at the end, I'm gonna get to why the issue of impeachment, why people haven't made it. But last week, I'm gonna tie you back to last week with economics. The issue is contracts, right? Every contract we enter into goes through the process of securitization, whether it's loans, birth certificate, that's the first contract, right? Promissory notes on loans, licensing, contracts you do with the state. The issue is when you only have one person signing it, which is what happens with all those contracts, it's actually not a contract, it's a note. It's called a unilateral note, right? And that's gonna be taken through securitization, where the trustee, the people you turn that note over to, the person you hand it to, they're gonna securitize it, they're gonna stamp it, um, put their seal on it, pay to the order of themselves. And all that means is basically they're turning these blank notes that we think are contracts into a check to themselves. So they're collateralizing debts. All right, that's how you take natural people into artificial persons. You contract, all right? You create a fiction. All right, so they pull together all those securities and they pull them together into what's called bonds, general obligation bonds. So this whole plantation operation where the trustees are extracting the energy of the citizens to get out back to these companies, right? The bondholders, that can't exist without GOBs at the state level. So all your states, states, counties, municipalities, you can just do Google search for most of the stuff. You can find they have general obligation bonds. General obligation bonds are debt securities that are paid off with the full faith and credit of the people. Really, it's the ignorance and belief of the people, right? So, trying to think what else I want to highlight last week. So basically, your states, uh, the federal level, uh, federal and the regular states, these bondholders, they basically give them like a black card, like they basically fund the government. These people have to find ways to extract energy from the citizens so they can balance the budget and pay back these people, right? They fund government operations. They use securitization on all different types of contracts to be able to extract their energy, pay back their market. All of that was a
Yeah, list handle those 21 bond holders.
yeah. I don't have it printed. I think I got it on my computer. I can show y'all. It's in our law manual for the juris course. Yeah, we have all of them listed, and they're listed on the Federal Reserve website too.
Yeah, I went over all this like last week.
No, just this top part. Basically, just pertaining to I was dealing with securitization, but in regards to like economics specifically, dealing with like loans, student loans, mortgages, all those type of contracts that get securitized by whatever bank it is you're doing business with, but they're actually going to take that instrument and collateralize it and turn it over to third parties. So if you get a mortgage for like, let's say you go get a mortgage for like 400,000, that contract you sign, when you give it to them, it's not a contract. You're the only person signing it, right? So it's a note. That bank, their vice president, he's going to stamp it, and now that piece of paper is now basically worth $400,000. So they do this all day. They get a whole bunch of business. So they pull all these securities into just one bundle and they call it a bond. And they use that to pay back these people who are actually funding the government and those financial institutions. So they're just using us to extract human capital just to run their business. So yeah, we went over that last week, but the reason I brought that back up is because today we're talking about uh, dealing with the U.S. justice system. The exact same system of securitization happens in court. It's the same thing, right? Um, the justice system is a for-profit venture. That's just another way that these people, your government, the states, municipalities, counties, make money because they have to generate enough revenue to pay back the bondholders, right? These people, these are just the children of the slave masters of the past. Now they control industry, right? These people control like 95% of every business industry in America, literally everything. Prison industrial complex, food industry, you name it, 95%. All right, so the point is all of this operation is obviously a violation of the rights of the people, right? It's allowing invasion of enemies, um, all that stuff. So one principle that I do want to, this is the highlight of it, it's corporate tort doctrine. This was a case in the Supreme Court, Planners Bank versus Georgia. basically what the ruling came out is that anytime a government is participating in trading, it's like business, that government entity divested itself of its governing capacity and it becomes a corporator. So basically, that's the whole point that I'm trying to tie in. Your government is not really an organic law body; it's just companies. So you could look up um, the United States of America Inc. That's a company registered in Delaware. The IRS, House of Representatives, Senate. You can look all of them up, and you're gonna find like business credit profiles for them. All right. So,
You got like,
what's up?
you got like something that's kind of like more embedded to us, and that's sitting down and kind of digest it. It's kind of
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. You can no, you good. I can give you the link to Dr. Ali's YouTube page. He goes over. He's got a ton of videos breaking this down.
Yeah, also books too.
Yeah, books. I can give. Yeah, I can give you the stuff. It's plenty of. He don't went over this stuff a billion times. But yeah. So dealing with the issue of our nationality, because when you go in court, we know we're 14th Amendment citizens, right? 14th Amendment citizens are actually not citizens. You're a second class subject citizen. You're still a slave. Really, it's spread to everyone now. But the basis of it, if we go back to the Dred Scott case, that was 1850, what, 758. The ruling came out on this that basically descendants of Africans cannot be citizens. Right? So at this time, 1850s, you can be citizens. That led to the Civil War, which was actually a war over our identity in the United States. So people don't know our ancestors fought in the Civil War, the free ones and the ones that was captive. They sided with the North and they fought for their own freedom. So since at this time we couldn't be citizens, but we had allegiance to the United States and the Constitution, it created a new status called U.S. national. So in respect to our political status in the United States, this is what we're supposed to be nationals. If we don't know that, the only way we could be a quote unquote citizen is under the 14th Amendment, which is as second class. It's a second class citizenship. So you don't have no rights at all. That's why we get ran over.
Saying you property in the United States.
Exactly. The birth certificate is the first instrument that identifies you as property of the state, and the states are 14 million citizens too. So their property, we're under them, we're property. All right, so
so that case said you can't be like regular citizens,
yeah, yeah.
and then
You can't,
This was a
you can't get that.
yeah. At this time, the only people who could be citizens was white people, right? Natural born citizens are free persons. So this case came in. He was trying to sue for his freedom, right? Because he was in a alleged free state. I think it was Missouri. But the Supreme Court ruled that no, we couldn't be citizens. So we were still either subjects or like free colored persons at the time. Then the Civil War happened. Then with the 14th Amendment, they offered us a quote. We really forced this because our people was fighting with the United States and basically forced Lincoln to have to free the slaves, right? So that was like 13th Amendment. Then 14th Amendment, they offered a citizenship, but it was second rights. So we're still not citizens. This is like civil rights, which is um, if you read the 14th Amendment, it says um, all persons. In the original citizenship clause, it said free persons. When they amended it with the 14th Amendment, they took out the word free. So it says, I don't have it in front of me, but basically says all persons born, persons, not free persons, persons born or nationalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof shall be citizens of the United States. But it's not the same as the natural born citizenship of the original Constitution that was only available to white people. So now everyone's under the 14th Amendment as subjects. And the proof is that we see how we're treated in this country.
And the word subject.
Yeah, subject. Subject is in the 14th Amendment. It says subject to the jurisdiction thereof. So if you're not free, you're bound by something. And then it says subject. So So, yeah. So, the reason I'm laying all that out is because we have to lay the basis of what the United States is, so we can understand why we being locked up where we are. Right? Was it like 1 in 3 black males get arrested? Eventually, it's gonna get to 1 in 2, and like that. That's where we're headed at if we don't reclaim our nationality. But I had to lay the basis of this securitization fraud, this fraudulent trust relationship between the people we think we elect in office, and the bondholders, and what general obligation bonds are. So, so we talked about all the different kinds of notes that get securitized. The one we're going to talk about today is indictments, because indictments are contracts too, but it's not a contract; it's a note. Right? So crime is big business in America. Right? Crime is part of the fiscal budget of every state, every county, every municipality. That's just another way to make money. Right? So all the fines, all the probations, all the prison sentences, that's just their way of generating revenue. These people generating revenue so they can pay back the bondholders. So yeah, so the issue with the bonds, we talked about last week researching the securities. Like you get whatever note you get, you can look up the CUSIP numbers on those bonds. The CUSIP number is just the ID that goes on a bond, and bonds are traded on the New York Stock Exchange. That's what I meant by slavery. They get the bonds, they get the securities, pull in the bonds, and then trade it internationally on the stock exchange. So they're literally trading people like collateral, right? Stocks and bonds. So here I have an example of a general obligation bond from Texas. If you catch a case of some type or any type of case that gets generated, you can look up general obligation bond. This is kind of what it looks like. But usually on the second page or third page, you have the CUSIP numbers for each year, right? These are the bonds that the state gets from these people, the bondholders. So if you can find this, and you can find the CUSIP number for the year, your case number is being traded under that CUSIP number. The reason that's important is because that's proof that the state and the court are not the real parties of interest. So they're basically like a debt collector, like a loan servicer or something. So all your cases,
They said in this.
yeah, exactly. The gross domestic product of the United States is creating and selling debt. Yeah, these companies. This over here, when you look at all the bonds, there's always two entities that's going to be on there. It's a company called Seed and Co. and the Depository Trust Company. Seed and Co. is these people, these multinational corporations. All right. If you look up Seed and Co., they don't have any directors listed, any staff, no CEO, nothing. So it's just a dummy corporation that these people hide behind so that so they can escape liability. So on a bond, you'll always see Seed and Co., Depository Trust Company, and a bank, some type of bank. It's usually a subsidiary of those people. Right? So these are the real parties of interest, not the state of Texas. Right? It's always the state of Texas versus you on the case, right?
Texas is a fiction too.
Yeah, exactly. Fictitious plaintiff. Right. The law says that fiction can't be a plaintiff in the case, but they run their hustle anyway. So well, okay. So how do we beat the U.S. court system? Right? How do we challenge this jurisdiction? The way you do it is by having your own jurisdiction and showing that you have a nationality. So that's why what we're doing in ARNA is so important, because we can literally pull ourselves out of this business structure that we think is government, right? So important points about ARNA. When you nationalize, ARNA has personal jurisdiction over. Personal jurisdiction is, how can I say it? Jurisdiction over a person. That's obvious. It's two types. It's personal jurisdiction and subject matter. subject matter jurisdiction is invoked whenever there's some type of incident, some type of cause of action to bring on the case. Um, Whenever you have some type of, in order to bring on a case, you have to have what's called corpus delicti, which is an injured party. There has to be injury to person or property in order to bring on some type of legal action in court. So the way their hustle works, it's always the state versus you. The state's a fiction. You can't injure a fictitious entity. So basically, they're running a hustle where it's like, we're going to try you because you could have committed a crime. Right? It's like a, yeah. So it's like, let's say you get like a traffic ticket for speeding. If you were over the speed limit, you violated codes, but you didn't actually injure person or property. So there's no real corpus delicti. But they're saying you could have, right? So they're saying basically they're locking people up like preemptively, like in the movies or something. I remember Dr. Ali talking about that. Like I forget the movie where it's like they looking into the future to like, oh, you could have committed a crime, so we're gonna arrest you now. Yeah, yeah, something like that, one of those things. But yeah, so they're saying you injured the state, right? So the way we want to handle this is it's two types of claims in a case. They're making a merit claims against you. They're saying you did X, Y, and Z, committed whatever crime. And then there's the financial claims tied to the bonds, the securitization of your case. So the only real way to challenge this is to create a jurisdictional challenge, which you have to be a part of a separate body politic to do. So the procedure we go through to do it in ARNA, or the basis of it, is we use these three instruments that we send as a judgment for our national into their court. All right. So let's say, I don't know, say you catch some type of case, really anything, any type of case, right? ARNA is going to intervene on behalf of our national to protect you and challenge jurisdiction, right? That's the importance of having a body policy, which is some type of government entity that secures, protects, and guarantees the rights of its nationals. Right? If you a U.S. subject citizen, you're gonna get ran through the gauntlet. Right? You can try to argue your case, but the system is rigged against you anyway. So unless I don't know, unless you got money to pay off everybody, you're gonna lose every time. Right? So if I go over this, the first instrument we want to use is called an international letters regulatory. Basically, that's some type of instrument from one jurisdiction that identifies their national or citizen and what status that person has to be like tried in. So what we actually do, obviously, we're going to identify you as one of our nationals, and under that status, you're a U.S. national, non-citizen, right? We're going to say that you're enforcing an indigenous right, and there's no injury, there's no corpus delicti, right? So we can kill the merit claims of the case. And the most important thing is we're going to have ARNA take on the charges for you, right? We're going to say you need to try the indigenous jurisdiction, not the individual, because he's under us. And once you're under here, ARNA has personal jurisdiction. The U.S. can never have personal jurisdiction over you after that. And in order to prosecute, you got to have both. You got to be able to, obviously, subject matter is if the incident happens in your jurisdiction or whatever, but you got to have personal too over that person. U.S. never has personal jurisdiction over ARNA nationals.
Okay, so like how you said that the birth certificate was a note.
Mhm.
Basically, when you sign that note, that's saying you're subject to the system of like all this.
Yeah. Yeah, on the birth certificate, if you look at one, the only thing, it doesn't actually say you're a citizen on birth certificates, but it
To the U.S. national, which would be ARNA is, if you're not subject to
yeah, basically, we have to learn how to contract so we don't end up getting caught back up in the system afterwards. But yeah, my point is we're still slaves, is what I'm saying. Once you recognize that you're indigenous and you form an indigenous body politic and reclaim your proper nationality, then you get taken out of, we can properly position ourselves politically as nationals and not subjects, right? Because we're indigenous people. You get okay. Yeah. Yeah. So the important thing about the international letters rogatory, where we're saying we want ARNA will take on the charges for you, is if you look in U.S. law, Title 28 of the United States Code, section 1604, it deals with sovereign immunity of foreign nations. So basically what it says is that foreign countries are immune to jurisdiction of U.S. courts. The only exemptions to that is like, yeah, something like that, or like maybe, I think it's like terrorism, some type of case like that. Or if your business, if it's some type of issue with property where the property is in their jurisdiction, then they can bring the case. But if not, if you innocent, right? Because we're, like I said, with this, if you're innocent, ARNA will have the case in our court, and we're sending all this stuff as part of the judgment in their court. So we have sovereign immunity, so we can nullify all the claims against you, right? So that's the international letter rogatory. Notice the suspension of jurisdiction is kind of along the same lines. The main thing is our ARNA nationals, we need to stay within our protocol and our cultural behavior. We don't want to be actually out here committing crimes and thinking just because you're an ARNA national, you can, get away with it or whatever, right? So as long as we stay within our proper capacity, we're not doing crazy stuff, ARNA can always step in and, protect his national right. So with this, like I said, if you're innocent, we'll find you innocent. It's part of our judgment, right? We're gonna, we want all the bonds, all of this stuff, the securitization, we want all that turned back over to the ARNA trustee, right? So in this document, we're outlining the fraud and contract, right? The fraud indictment. We're canceling the securities. We want the charges dropped. If not, then we will come after this bond. Because like I said, we can find it. We can pull up where the securitization fraud is happening. So we can call it out and sue all of these people. I'm gonna get to that in a second. But yeah, we're citing the corporate tort doctrine too. We want to point out whatever court, the state that's coming after you is a fiction. It's a corporation, corporate tort doctrine. So it can't act as an actual governing body and like try to prosecute you. So once we find you innocent in our judgment, that kills the merit claims. And then once we come after the bonds, the securitization, corporate tort doctrine, then we can kill the financial claims. And like they got to get that case out of there. You know what I'm saying? So the action in quo rento, this is something that you can use. Well, I guess you use all this stuff, or at least these two, even if you're not a national. But the action in quo rento, this is basically like a freedom of information request that we would send to like some type of how do I say it? Like some type of loan servicer. If you got debt collectors and stuff like that, you can send. Yeah, we talked about last week. You would send a freedom of information request. Basically, we're trying to verify that they can actually have a lawful claim to whatever debt they're claiming to. So in court, this is kind of like that same instrument. You could send it to judge, prosecutor, clerk, and we're asking for the same information. We want the original contract or the indictment. They're never going to give you the original indictment because it's being securitized. They don't want you to see it. If they hand it over, that's the proof, and we can, kill the case real easy. So they're never going to give you this, but we're going to ask for it. And the other two principal points, oath of office and we want the oath of office, and we want the judge's surety bond. Whenever judges, trustees, all different people we elect in office get in office, they have to take an oath, right? Like the president gets sworn in under oath. Same thing with judges, prosecutors, clerks, all these government officials or public officers. So we want to ask to see if this is on record, because a lot of times the judge don't even have one. The oath. Oh, yeah,
And the overall, I got a paper for the law. I do that.
yeah. So all judges are supposed to be sworn in under oath, and it's supposed to be put on record at either the county clerk's office or Secretary of State's office. Somewhere you're supposed to be able to go and pull this up to make sure that the judge is under oath to protect the Constitution. A lot of times they don't even have one. So you got this person sitting up, behind the bench, sentencing people's lives away, and they're not even a real judge.
And it must be signed too, by three other officials,
Mhm.
in order for it to be, valid. A lot of times they don't have a signature on it.
Mhm.
I've seen that also.
Yeah, so we gonna always ask for this and the surety bond, because the state has to have insurance on their public officers in case of some type of malfeasance, malpractice, or something. So if we ask for this, once you file an action in Pro Rento, all the claims you're making have to be answered, or the case can't proceed. Like it freezes prosecution. So if this is on record, the judge is automatically disqualified, automatically, and that kills the case. And then the surety bond, the reason they have both, the oath of office is for when they're operating under the organic law. The surety bond is for doing business tied to this stuff, the securitization. So we want to pull up both of these. Um, and we're asking who pays their salary. That ties back to judges, all these people are the trustees, and then they're actually really just working for third parties to generate revenue to pay them back. So that's tied to that. We're gonna ask for all the information. They're never gonna give you all this. Like never. They can't, because that would defeat the purpose of the business that they're doing. So we send all this stuff. Yeah, exactly. So we send all this stuff as a judgment into their court, whatever court's trying to prosecute you. We send all this, and like that nullifies their case. Like it's that simple. If you don't have that, you can still like try to, I guess, argue the financial claims with the bonds, security stuff. With the merit claims, you just gonna have to try to argue your case. But like I said, the system is rigged against you, so you know we see how that goes, right? We don't win too many cases. But here's what the case would basically look like. ARNA, on behalf of the national, we will go versus the case number and the bond number, because literally the indictment, the case number is securitized. So we're gonna go versus them. We're gonna go versus all the trustees, the state, the county, the city, and then these people who are on the bonds. Like we're gonna sue all these people. We're suing the judge on their insurance bond, right? So yeah, so the foreign immunity ties into the other part that allows us to do this. If we look in the U.S. Constitution, Article 4, Section 1, it's the full faith and credit clause. What it says, um, if you look in, what's this law dictionary? I think it's Black's Law. It's called Black's Law Dictionary. This is basically like the official dictionary for all English law. United States, like the UK, this is what you want to look into for all your legal definitions. But that's the standard acceptable. But what it says in reference to this clause, full faith and credit, it says that foreign judgments have basically full force and effect. This is the United States saying this. They're saying that foreign judgments that come into our court have full force and effect as they would have in the state of origination. So if you're dealing with individual states, that's like if there's an issue in Texas with some type of, maybe like a citizen in California or something. California can send a judgment into that Texas court on behalf. They're not going to do that because they don't protect their citizens. But I say that because it deals with domestic states, all the 50 states in the United States, and uh, international states like ARNA. So we can send our judgments into their court, and according to U.S. law, it has to take full force uh, in their court too. So yeah, that's just further protection for what we do. Um, Usually, type of cases you want to file against, if you have police officers, judges, any public officers, or really anybody who is trying trying to deprive you of your rights or conspire against you exercising your rights, the type of cases you want to file, it's called Title 42. This is referring to Title 42 of the uh, United States Code of the U.S. law. So that's a color of authority case. Color of authority is basically when you have some officer who is, like I said, depriving you of your rights or conspiring against your rights, but under the authority given to them by their government that they work for. So all this malicious illegal prosecution by the states, by the judge, you can sue the judge on their insurance bond, right? You can, if you have police, all the police harassment, all that stuff, you can sue these people under this title. I'm gonna read. Let me see. I want to read a few clauses from it. So Title 42, Section 1983 says every person who, under color of any statute, ordinance, regulation, custom, or usage of any state or territory or the District of Columbia, every person who subjects or causes to be subject to any citizen of the privileges or immunities secured by the Constitution and laws shall be liable to the party injured in any action at law or suit in equity. Right? So basically, it's just procedure for going after any of these state entities or public officers who are violating our rights. That could be economic. It's not just like physical violence. It's anything, economic violence, taking property, all that stuff. You can file Title 42 color authority actions. So included with that, we want to deal with Title 18 as well. Maybe, yeah, deprivation of rights. Um, was the penalty. So that clause basically says the same thing. Then it has specifics to the what the consequences of damages are. So let me see. All right, so it says they shall be fined under this title or in prison not more than 10 years or both. That's if, yeah, 10 years or both. And then if death results from the acts committed in violation of this section, or if such actions include kidnapping or an attempt to kidnap, aggravated sexual abuse, or an attempt to commit aggravated sexual abuse, or any attempt to kill, it shall be fined under this title or in prison for any term of years or for life, or both, or may be sentenced to death. Right? So we want to always tie ourselves to all the legal remedy that we have. Right? And then these are a couple of clauses that protect property. Title 28, Section 1609 deals with foreign property is immune from illegal search and seizure. So as we're getting our homes, cars, everything we have, we want to put these things under trust in our jurisdiction, right? So that's a foreign trust that is not subject to U.S. courts, so they can't touch our property. And then Title 8, 1401B, that also deals with protecting of rights to aboriginal property, right? So once you come under indigenous status in ARNA, and now you're a U.S. national, we don't want to be in state court because most of the laws that are protections are federal, the Constitution, all the treaties that our ancestors signed. So it's, as a general rule, we're always going to remove cases in state court to federal, and that ties into into all this stuff. ARNA stepping in and protecting you. It's always going to have to go to federal court. That's where our protections are. And as a U.S. national, you can access the rights guaranteed in the Constitution. As a subject, you can't, right? Not be citizens. So we use the Constitution too, but yeah, that's basically it. We would remove the case to federal, make our counterclaims, and come back and sue for damages under Title 42. So basically, I'm just highlighting all this to say we have legal remedy to these type of issues. Right? They're using us as collateral just to make money, to generate revenue to pay back their creditors, and we can obfuscate that by understanding that we're indigenous to the land and forming our own jurisdictions, so we can challenge jurisdiction. All of this is a jurisdictional challenge. Right? So yeah, back to tying it back to impeachment. Uh, Obviously, they don't do civic classes in communities anymore, but any officer tying into any of these public officers, police, judges, elected officials, any of these people who are violating our rights, right, using us for all this stuff, you can impeach them. The people have to file what's called the articles of impeachment. You send it to, I forget what it's called, the elections board in your county or in your state, yeah, whatever level it is. All you need is like, what is it? I think you get a petition of the people to get the person out, and then all you need is like two witnesses to whatever illegal acts are being committed to speak on it in open court, and you can get these people out, or you at least you should be able to. But corporator doctrine, that's the issue of impeachment. Corporator doctrine says that all of these governments, the states, all these people are not governments; they're actually corporations. So if the states have been compromised, can you impeach an officer who's running a fiction? That's the question. All right. In the Constitution, it lays out the rules for impeachment. Congress basically has the power of impeachment, the House of Representatives and the Senate. So the case would have to be tried in the Senate, and the House has the power to adjudicate on the matter. But like I said, back to corporate doctrine, we can look up these companies. We can look up their business credit profile, the EIN number. So if the people who have the power to impeach are compromised, then that means we can't get the president, all the judges, the mayor, all these people who are running this securitization operation. That means we can't get them out of office. So basically, you have a despotic government, despot. Basically, they have total rule, unquestioned. You can't do anything about it. So we're stuck under this business operation. So we're gonna have to master business one, and two, we're gonna have to have our own entity to. That's the only way you can challenge, right? Otherwise, you're gonna be stuck in.
We got international law.
Yeah. Human rights protections, all that stuff. So, first I want
So, everybody's like, I said, classes.
yeah, now it's with the 14th Amendment, it's spread to everyone. Originally, we were slaves, right? But when they took the word free out, now persons applies to everybody, white people, everyone. So, yeah.
Unless,
So,
unless.
yeah, unless we reclaim our indigenous status and free white persons, they can actually do the same thing because they're not supposed to be subjects. They're supposed to be free persons or natural born citizens under the original Constitution. But the few people who run this operation, they spread it to everyone. They're like, we just gonna turn everyone into uh, slaves so we can capture their capital. So, white people, the states, they need to reclaim their actual citizenship status too, so they can get out from under the system. So, yeah. What time is it? Okay, I'm good. So yeah, so that's challenging jurisdiction. As long as once you get in ARNA, we get operating on proper status. We need local jurisdictions too to run this. It's very difficult to, I guess, to operate this type of stuff just because we're so spread out right now. So yeah, we get our local jurisdiction, we can tailor all this stuff to, like we're in Harris County, Missouri, all that stuff, and just run it smoother. But I think the last thing I want to go over is the IPA. Um, IPA stands for Indigenous Political Authority. What that is basically, so ARNA is a body politic. IPA is a body politic too, but pretty much this is for people who maybe don't want to be under the strict rules that we want to implement in ARNA, as far as like cultural principles, getting married, um, the way we want to do business, all that type of stuff. People might not want to do that. Our people have all type of lifestyles, but all of us still need our indigenous protections. So we formed the IPA. Right now, the Jural Society of ARNA is kind of just provisionally over the IPA, but what we want to use this for, the main thing, is actually to carry out international reparations lawsuits. Um, Obviously, our people still think voting works. Still, I don't know, when the police do what they do to us, people pulling out cell phones, boycotting, all that stuff. People think that this citizenship is equal. So people are still trying to participate in the system, even though we see it doesn't work. So the only other option as far as seeking legal remedy from the people causing the injury is to take the case to international courts. That's the only thing we haven't done yet. So we need to check that off the list. That's like the last thing we can do as far as seeking anything other than self-administered reparations, what we do with ARNA. So, so anyone, I think right now we got our website set up, indigenouspoliticalauthority.org. I think if anyone's trying to think how Ali has it set up, I think he has a page on there where people can cite any injury that's caused by them, police, judges, stuff like that. And then ARNA, our Drill Society, will be able to step in and help people with those cases. We want to help people file these Title 42 actions for color of authority. Because a lot of these attorneys, the Kanika Jenkins case, stuff like that, the state, they'll send in their people, they'll send the family some attorneys, something like that. They'll have them file, some bogus little civil case, just trying to get some money. Nothing close to justice though. So we formed the IPA, so yeah. So we formed the IPA so we can start helping people with that. Right now we have a petition prepared that we want to file to the Organization of American States. That's the international court. It's like the UN, something like that. But we have a reparations case prepared right now to file. I'm not sure exactly when it's gonna happen. I think we're just looking for more numbers, more people to get in. But I think one of
people did sign up, so they'll make the number.
Yeah. In Nationals of ARNA, you can be in the IPA too, But people in the IPA, if you're only in this, you can't just be in ARNA, right? That's the main difference. But I wanted to tie in with the issue of reparations. I wanted to tie in the importance of treaties that our ancestors made during the war that we call the slave trade. So I think I mentioned in week 1 the Treaty of Marrakesh. Today they call it the Treaty of Morocco. That was between the United States and what was called the Moorish Empire. Those are our West African ancestors. So that's 1786. An important clause from it, if you look in clause 21 of this treaty, it wasn't a treaty, it was actually a grant from the leader of the Moorish Empire to the United States. But in treaty, clause 21, it basically outlines that Moors, or at the time they called themselves Muslims, but Moors or Muslims, could only be judged in any cases between citizens of the United States and the citizens of Marrakesh or the Moorish Empire. The only laws they can be judged under is under Sharia law or the law of the Quran. So if you think about that, that means every single case in the history of the United States after this has been illegal prosecution. So how much money are we owed for this? The numbers, it would get ridiculous, right? So, and then like I said, they're still doing it. So the point is everything that's going on is a violation of treaties that are still active. So that's why we have to reclaim our status and tie ourselves back to these treaties so we can enforce it. So the other one, the Treaty of Aranjuez, 1786 or 1780, that was also between the United States and the Moorish Empire. What happened was Spain ceded all of its territories, or all of its territorial claims in America back to the Moorish Empire. So at that time, Spain, I think they had claims to literally the entire west half of the United States and also a lot of South America. I think I have a picture. I think I can show. Yeah, I don't know if I can see. Y'all see it? I can see it. So you can see where the U.S. is. Where am I? Yeah, you can see where it is. Everything in red, including also South America too. All of that was controlled by Spain. And when that treaty happened, they turned it actually back over to us. So we're supposed to have we're supposed to still have this property under our control. So all of the expansion, all of the wars that happened for the United States to what do they call it? What they call it when they like move west? What was it? What's the term for it?
Repatriate.
No, it's yeah, like when they yeah, but I forget the term they call it. You know when they started just expanding into the Western United States for the I forget what it's called. It doesn't matter, but yeah, yeah, I don't know. But yeah, the point is, um, all of the theft of property is also a violation of treaty. So if we enforce this, that means we can reclaim all this type of stuff under our jurisdictions. Like these are big moves. Is my point. This is you can see Spain controlled almost all of America at this time. So if we come back under this, if we build our numbers, we can start to make change. Right? So the other important clause, this is back to the Treaty of Americas, clause 16. They fudged the numbers on how many people got taken here in the Atlantic slave trade. They say it's millions, but it was, if you look in the database, the transatlantic slave trade database, it was actually less than 500,000. And those people weren't slaves, they were prisoners of war in violation of international treaties at the time. So if you add up the numbers on the people who were taken, how much money is owed for denationalizing those people, it comes out to over $180 billion. So this is all stuff we can come after in our our reparation lawsuits. So yeah, I think that's it. But any questions we all learn?
You know, I got some questions.
Yeah.
I would like to.
Yeah. I can you need to get Dr. Ali's books. He has one called The Lost Aboriginal Heritage of the So-Called New African American. Yeah. Um yeah, it's a bunch of stuff. And then if you go on his YouTube page, you could all that stuff. Yeah. Aboriginal Global Media is a YouTube page. Dr. Ali broadcasts on there a lot, like a lot of different stuff, classes, just kind of general education on all this type of stuff. So you can go on there. I mean, he's on there pretty frequently. Talks about a lot. So yeah. 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 So um, anything else, or okay?
So, for instance, let's say that ARNA did convict you for a murder. How does ARNA go about convicting you for murder? Like, do you put down the U.S. team, like how's that going?
No, I mean ARNA has its own jurisdiction. So if you like commit a crime in ARNA, then we would have to. I mean, we don't have those things developed yet. Having our own like local court structures and I guess prisons and all this type of stuff. But yeah, if ARNA had to bring a case against you for violating our law and you got convicted, then you'd be in our jail or prison or whatever, because it's our jurisdiction. We wouldn't send you to U.S.
So yeah, do have some kind of facility right now, or
No. Right now, I think right now we only have one local jurisdiction, which is in Atlanta, where Ali is right now. But that's why we need to get the ball rolling on this type of stuff.
I was wondering about that. I was really wondering about that. It's like I'm trying to figure out if I like transfer over to the other government. It's gonna happen.
Yeah. If something happens in our jurisdiction, then the whole proceeding stays in our circle. So yeah. Good.
I heard that first of all, I heard about ARNA. Like if you don't ARNA, you get your own bank account, something like that. Is some kind of bank account through ARNA, or some kind of
No, I mean it's part of our procedure. Like once you nationalize, we want you to open a certain type of business account. That's the first step in like protecting assets. So yeah.
How do you cancel out birth certificate?
By notice. So part of your, when you nationalize, one of your nationality documents is a notice and cancellation of the birth certificate. So we send that to the Department of Health or, yeah, vital records, with the, like, whatever hospital or whatever, or in your state, you send it to the state's Department of Health and Vital Records, telling them, I'll reclaim my status and cancel any securities tied to that instrument. The issue is the actual contract that the mother signs to get the
So what all
certificate.
that?
Basically, it takes you out of 14th Amendment citizenship into ARNA and U.S. national.
Social security and stuff like that.
No, I mean, like, what do you mean as far as
Two separate issues.
yes, sir.
You know how government takes money out of your check, everything you know, is it towards
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you want to keep the social security account, you keep it. We still use like social security numbers for certain stuff, but the birth certificate is the one we really want to get rid of. The social we still use for certain things, and like you said, the securitization that happens with the social, as part of our reparations lawsuit, we can come back after that stuff. We can find like the bonds and securities tied to the social security account. We can reclaim that stuff. But yeah, but the birth certificate you do want to cancel because that's what naturalizes you into the fiction, the United States as a subject. So we want to get rid of that for yeah. Anything else, or okay? Yeah. All right. Cool. Yeah, we have like I said, go on Dr. Ali's page, get his books. Like he's the one who created all this stuff. So and he teaches on it real frequently. So yeah, it's a lot to it.